Hey guys, finally got on the live. Sorry it's a little bit late for some of y'all that are on Eastern time. Give it a couple minutes, see if anybody's gonna join me. A little late night art time, not too late. So if you're on, or when you come on, shoot me a hi. Hey Marilyn. Awesome. I'm glad you could join us. Oh, I can hear myself. That's not good. Okay. So tonight we're going to play real quick with a little acrylic paint, some paint pens. I'm going to use my jelly plate, but there's definitely is optional. You could do this totally with just paint without the jelly plate if you don't have one, or if your people don't have one. Hey Amy. Awesome. You're in Minnesota, so it's a little earlier then, right? Because it's like almost 10:30 here. I'm on Eastern time. So usually I come on earlier in the day, but with Saturdays, it just kind of depends on how things are going. I agree, Marilyn. Any time is good for art time. I'm with you on that one. And that's the beauty of the replays, because I know not everybody can come on no matter when we come on. So anyway, I am basing this today on Luke 8. And there's going to be plenty of verses you could apply this to if you want to use the same idea. But anyway, the verse I found was Luke 8:16. It says, "No one after lighting a lamp covers it with a jar or puts it under a bed, but puts it on a stand so that those who enter may see the light. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Take care then how you hear, for to the one who has, more will be given, and from the one who has not, even what he thinks that he has will be taken away." So, hey Amy. Oh, yep, 9:30. So good. So I'm glad y'all are here with me. I think Diane's going to pop in here sometime soon. I was just on a message with her, so I'm waiting for her to show up. But anyway, so I've been going through Luke for the month of December. So I have this is one of those scripture journals that you get for like $5, where it's got a blank page on every thing, and this is only the book of Luke. So just so you guys know. So normally I would be in my Interleaf Bible, typically, but since I've been going through the book of Luke for the month of December, I went ahead and bought this to use because I thought I would probably have a lot more notes and more journaling, and even in the interleaved, there's only so much. So this is what I'm going to do the page in today. So I've got my 5x7 jelly plate, which is about the perfect size for this. I usually use my 8x10 when we're doing the Interleaf Bible because the pages are bigger. And this is just one of those cheap kitchen cutting mats from the Dollar Tree, which is awesome for just a cover for paint. Even though it'll wipe right off the table, it's a lot easier if you don't have to. Okay, where are my comments go? So what I did is, and I actually did this the other day for my daughter. She had her own jelly plate thing going. So for the record, she did this first. I will give her the credit. But we took a piece of cardstock and just cut a basic Christmas tree shape out of it. So you could do any shape you want. In this case, I folded it in half, so it'd be symmetrical. But you could even just do a triangle for a Christmas tree. So it does not have to be anything fancy. You could do it out of copy paper. I did this one out of cardstock just so it'll be a little bit more substantial. And if you're doing a jelly plate, you're just going to put it down on the jelly plate and use it like a stencil. Okay, or a mask, depending on how you look at it. You can tell we've already used this one. And then don't throw away the cutout piece, because you can use that as a mask. So this is, I guess, more like a stencil. Hey, Diane. I knew you were coming. Hey, Kellen. Okay, so you do the cutout, save the little tree shape so you can use that for a mask, and then we're going to use this as a stencil. So we're going to do a real simple jelly print. If you wanted to do a bunch of layers, you could take your paint pens or a fine paintbrush, and you could go ahead and paint your ornaments on first, let it dry, and then do the next step. But because I'm going to use paint pens anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and do the tree as a jelly print and use my paint pens on top once I've printed it. We actually tried that both ways, and I found that would just made the most sense. But you can try it however you want. So, and again, if you don't have a jelly plate or your people don't have a jelly plate, it is not hard to paint a tree. Again, they can even just do a triangle, or what you can have them do is paint or brayer or card swipe their green or their green and brown on the thing, and then cut the tree out afterward. And that's sometimes a little easier because you don't have to worry about going over the edges. Just a thought. Okay, so I've got, just for some kicks, I have some green metallic paint. This is just that Craft Smart acrylic paint. So I've got 2 shades of green. Y'all can tell when we did this before, we used more of like almost a neon brighter green, but I'm just gonna, only takes a little bit because it's not a huge space. But I want the 2 colors just to give it a little variation, even though the brayer will do some of that for us. Okay, so let's see what this turns out. Oops, got it on the trunk already. Okay. So I'm just scooting it around. Again, I don't want it to smush it together too much because I want to see that color variation. I do want to get around the edges so that I have a tree shape. Okay, so again, stencils, if you haven't used jelly plates a whole lot, stencils are a lot of fun. Again, you can make your own by doing, if you have a fancy like silhouette or something like that, you can make them out of plastic, but you can always make your own out of paper or cardstock. They just, you know, they won't last as long, but when you're doing simple shapes, that's not really a big deal. And of course, you can buy the really cool stencils from all sorts of stencil places. The difference in craft paint and branded acrylic paint. It's not so much the brand, it's actually the thickness of it and how much pigment is there. So if you get like an artist grade paint, which one is gonna be a little bit more expensive, it's what's called higher viscosity. So it's gonna be thicker. You're gonna notice the texture is gonna be thicker. Again, all of it works on a jelly plate. They act a little bit different, but they all work. I'm gonna add some brown for my trunk. And I'm just gonna smudge that around my finger because it's such a small space. Honestly, I just don't wanna bother with the brayer. So any of the paints work in Bible journaling, any of them work in, jelly plate. So it really is just a matter of thickness, transparency. Now there's also what's called fluid acrylics. Okay, and y'all see me adding some green because it looks a little thin, but I also accidentally wiped some off with my brayer. So you can use your fingers on the jelly plate. Just a note, if you get too carried away with the brayer, you'll start actually picking it up, the paint, instead of putting down the paint, which is what just happened. So, but that's fine. I will come back to the paint question in just a minute. I want to do this while it's wet. So first things first, you definitely want to remember to pick up your stencil. I have forgotten this a couple of times and it does not make for happiness. Okay, and I got a little carried away. Y'all can see right here where it went under my cardboard. And you know what? I'm just gonna fix it a little bit with my finger. Again, I'm not really worried about this being too technical. I could use something different if I wanted to, just straighten it out if I needed to. But you want to make sure that stencil's really down good and flat, and then probably when I smushed it with my finger, I had the paint so thick that it just smushed under there. So since I'm using the 5x7 and I'm using the lighter scripture journal, I'm just going to actually place that down on the plate. Usually if I'm using my Bible, I will pick up the plate and put it on the page. The other downside with this is I'm not exactly sure where it landed on the page, but that's okay. And actually we can pick it up and flip it over. I have copy paper on the back of the plate anyway, so I can't see. Okay, so now I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I think I got that. So you want to pat it down with your hand really good, or rub over the back of it, or you can use a brayer. So I'm just reaching underneath the page since I was rubbing the back of it, but it was through the whole book, so I don't know if that came through, so we'll see. All right, and then just gently pull it away, and we have a fun Christmas tree. So again, you could definitely paint a Christmas tree. I didn't really have to use my jelly plate, but it's just fun. And it gives a difference in the texture. Okay, so back to the paint question. Yep, Marilyn is right. It depends on the opacity. Also makes a difference because of the thickness. So the craft paints tend to be more transparent because they're thinner. So they're have a little bit more fluid, a little bit more water in them. Again, not bad. There's nothing wrong with them. And especially for Bible journaling, they're a lot cheaper because you can get them for 50 cents to $1 a bottle at Walmart, Michael's, wherever, in a bazillion colors. So I think they're great for using for Bible journaling. They're also great for using on your jelly plate. Obviously, if you're getting into like fine art canvases and things like that, where you want a thickness and you want the paint to like last forever and ever and all that stuff, then that's a whole nother deal. And I've used higher viscosity paints in my Bible and on Bible journaling. They just act a little different because of the thicknesses. So it's something to play with, but those are the major differences. Sorry, y'all, my comments keep disappearing, so please bear with me. There you are. Yeah, so I am a big one for using my fingers, whether it's on the jelly plate or just in my paints. And I think that's fun to do with classes too. There's something about getting people out of their comfort zone, and finger painting for most adults is not in their comfort zone. So it's just kind of fun. So I don't know if y'all can see the shine on that. So it already has a fun texture, fun print, and also because they're thin and they're jelly, and then it was rolled on pretty thin on the jelly plate, aside from my finger painting. It'll be dry in just a minute. So what I'm gonna do, my focus on this, going back to the beginning of the verse, is we were talking about the light. So with all the Christmas lights and everything going on this time of year, I've had it in my mind that I wanted to do a page with Christmas lights, and with the idea of letting our light shine for God, and that His light is beyond anything that we see, even at this time of year, with all the pretty lights and all the glory and the glitz and the shine, that no matter what light show or what neighborhood you go to that has the coolest Christmas lights, there's just no comparison to the light of Jesus. And so that's kind of where I was going with this, with the Christmas season. And they're talking about you wouldn't light a lamp and cover it up with a jar so nobody could use it to see. And so I thought, well, it's the same thing with a Christmas tree. Like, who in their right mind would go to the trouble to decorate a Christmas tree and light it up, to put lights all over their house, and then just keep them dark, to keep them turned off, or put a blanket over it so nobody could see the light that was underneath it? You'd think they were crazy. But how often do we sometimes keep our light a little more hidden than we should? That, you know, we shy away from that a little bit. So that's where this is going. in case you're wondering where all this is tying in. So I've got my Christmas tree. Y'all notice, see where I finger painted the trunk? Okay, it's got some texture going on, which is a lot of fun, but it is thicker, so it's not quite dry yet. So I'm just gonna try not to smudge it. All right, the rest of this is dry. So the thinner you put on your paint and the more fluid your paint, the quicker it's gonna dry. So I've got my Posca paint pens. Okay, I've brought these on before. These are the extra fine points. I got them on Amazon. If nothing else, you definitely need a white one somewhere in your little bag. But I love having all the colors because you can use them for lettering. You can use them for fine details in your drawings or your paintings. They don't bleed through. You can use them on your gel plate, which is super fun. So like you can trace things with them or do like lines and details with them on your gel plate. Because they're paint, just in a pen. Now these are like an acrylic water-based paint. I know some of the paint pens, like some of the Sharpie ones, are like an oil-based paint. I do not know anything about that type. So I do know that a water-based or an acrylic paint pen is all good when you're Bible journaling because it's just like acrylic paint, so it won't bleed through. You don't have any issues there. These also have behaved really well as far as not getting all blobby like some paint pens do. Okay, so like I said, you could, if you wanted to, do this part on the jelly plate first and do it as a whole nother layer. But frankly, we tried it that way, and I think it's just easier to do it like this. And then it requires less patience because you don't have to wait on them to dry. Okay, so I got some little red ornaments and some yellow ornaments. And got some blue. I don't know how well he's gonna show up. That's all right. Hey, Regina. Okay. That's probably about all I want to do ornament-wise. I don't want to get too carried away. Okay, and you know what? I'm going to add my little star on the top. The other nice thing about these is, again, because they are paint as opposed to like a regular marker, sometimes it'll take a couple layers, but you can cover up over another color like I just did with that on top of the green tree there, as opposed to trying to use a yellow marker. You can forget it. Okay. Absolutely, yeah, you could do another stencil on top of your tree and make some texture, some design. You could use bubble wrap. Would be fun to kind of look like ornaments. All sorts of different ways to do this. So that's what I love about it. You can make it your own. Your people can make it their own. I always encourage people in my classes to not copy get the idea from what I'm doing, but to make it their own. Okay, they need, make it their own thing, make it individual and unique to them. Looking for a black pen, y'all. Okay. So I think I'm just gonna go around my little star here. I'm gonna give him like a little doodly. Little doodly outline. If this pen isn't out. Okay. Searching through the pen bag, y'all. Sorry. Bear with me. Ah, there's a micron pen. Okay. There we go. Okay, and then we're gonna give him some little lines, so he's putting off some light. And then, let's see, I'm just giving him a ground because he looks like he's floating in the air and it bothers me. And you could decorate that however you want. But then I was thinking of maybe just doing some cute Christmas lights, like some little Doodle Christmas lights. And doodling is always a fun thing too, I think, for classes, because it tends to be something everybody's comfortable with. And again, super easy. So you get a black pen. You can even use a ballpoint pen. So I'm gonna doodle like what would I guess be the cord or the wire for the lights. Just make like some little curvy lines. Hey Amy, no, they don't bleed through. Actually, you can use them straight on the page, because they're just like using acrylic paint, which doesn't bleed through either. So you can absolutely use them on a bare page. No need to prep or put them on top of anything. And I probably will use them here for the lettering, so I'll show you. Even though this is, well, it's really not that thick, but it's a little thicker than a Bible page. But I do use them on my regular Bible pages all the time, and they work great. And I'm going to carry this through onto the other side just for kicks. Okay, so all I'm doing is a little curvy doodly line. And I know my arm's probably in the way, sorry. Okay. So there's my little curvy doodly Christmas light line. And then I'm going to come back with my paint pen. And you could do this certainly with colored micron pens or any kind of colored no bleed pens. You could do it with a fine paintbrush, but personally I don't have that kind of patience or steady of a hand. So I would use, I do better with a pen or something along those lines. Okay, so now I'm just going to go through with whatever colors I want, and I'm going to make some bulb shapes. So kind of like I use kind of like a teardrop shape. But you know what? Christmas lights come in all colors and shapes, so you can use whatever shape you like and whatever colors you like. You could make little icicle lights if you really wanted to. Okay, so I'm spacing them out because I'm going to come back with some other colors in between because I want to make mine kind of rainbow lights. And just to show you, so you don't see any of that paint bleeding through here. And even though this isn't a regular Bible paper, it doesn't bleed through on a regular Bible either. So I really do like paint pens. I think it's funny. I've been Bible journaling for 3 years now, and just recently, in the past few months, got turned on to paint pens and thought, why didn't I think of that before now? I use paint. Why haven't I thought to use a paint pen? But I didn't until I saw somebody else do it. Let's scoot this over a little bit. So paint pens also, again, are something a lot of times, sometimes your people already have, or they're pretty cost effective to get a few colors either to share, or like I said, or you know, if they're going to buy their own. I think this whole set of Poscas for 12 colors was maybe $20 on Amazon. So, I mean, you can't really beat that. Like I said, and most importantly, they don't get all weird and gloppy like some paint pens do. But like for white especially, they're amazing. So much better than a gel pen, in my opinion. Oh, I smudged one. Okay, so I'm just gonna go around with my other colors real quick. Kellen, the camera is above me, so I use my phone to record, and so I have like a little, I don't know, it's like a little flexible arm thing that I ordered from Amazon, and it's got a clamp on it, so it clamps to my table, because I usually do these in my kitchen. I either clamp it to my table, or if I need it to be a little higher, I actually clamp it to a cookbook. Which then I can stack as many books as I want, so I can get it as high as I want it to go. So this is my kitchen setup here. That's how I do it. And I can send you the link to that if you want to know which one I have. It's pretty basic, but it's a flexible arm, so you can kind of bend it to the shape or the direction you want it to go. And it's great because even for my group, I have a local group here and we do local meetups, but as large a group as it is and the distance, I have everybody from Savannah to Central Florida. There's quite a distance. So even though some people are able to drive and do meetups, a lot of people miss out. So I like to be able to do these type of things and share them with my group as well, even if it's just for my local people. So it is a nice option to have if you're able to shoot a quick video or even just kind of pop on and say hi if you've got a group going. Okay, so you can't get it to facing above you. Yeah, so that probably, a lot of it just depends on what, like where you have it clamped and then how it's bent. So you probably just need to play with it. That took me a little bit, and then trying to figure out that Facebook Live behaves differently than like a YouTube video, and one is portrait and one's landscape, and one wants to be like when you start a Facebook Live, I had to learn to reverse the camera because it automatically starts facing you, which totally freaks me out. Okay, so I'm just gonna do blue. I mean, y'all get the idea, but I don't want to leave it undone, so I'm gonna keep doodling. And then we're gonna add some words. Yes, Lori, so yeah, they're great for painting rocks as well. And then a lot of people already have them if they've been doing that. So it's kind of a twofer. It's something you can use for a lot of different things, which I like. I don't like recommending supplies in my classes if it's something I don't think they're gonna be able to use a lot of, or if it's not very cost effective. I don't ever want people to feel like they're limited or that they can't do Bible journaling or something in a class because of the cost of it. Okay, so y'all can see this is not, I mean, not fancy, but it's a doodle, so it's just the idea of lights. And it's a good way to like frame your verses. Like I said, on the other page is that I like to keep my words, my text visible, kind of no matter what I'm journaling in, but this is an easy way to go around your margins and your script. And I may come back and like do another little section of lights around that verse section since it's already kind of separated. So, how many of you guys have jelly plates and enjoy using them? Because that is something I've been playing more with. I'd like to start sharing more on art time with them, but I want to make sure it's something that's of interest to you guys. Oh, good. Yeah, and gel pens are great too. I don't buy multiple Posca pens. Usually I have like some that I can share, and then I'll bring, like I have extra white paint pens that I've picked up along the way and some metallic ones. So a lot of times I'll have kind of varied colors and let people share that way. And you can definitely, like I've got some Craft Smart ones, so people can kind of use whatever and then kind of go with whatever you have and whatever's cost effective for you, especially if you're the one bringing the supplies to the class. So yeah, I would maybe say, hey, you can use gel pens, or if you like these paint pens, here's where you get them. Oh, good. Okay, so you've got the jelly plates. Marilyn's got the jelly plates. Yeah, I know you use it quite often. I love your pages. Okay, so we'll do some more gel plate process videos too, and some other stuff. But like I said, I don't want to be getting into things that maybe aren't as useful to you guys. Also, and we had started a thread on it, but I don't think there were many comments. If there are anything specific that you guys would like to see in the art time videos, please share that. You can share it here. You can share it on the last post that somebody asked it on. Also, if there are things, if you are capable of doing videos and you have that capability and you maybe have some talent, skills, favorite projects, or processes that you would like to share with the group, we are going to be looking for some people to kind of contribute to that. I love doing the videos for the group, and Elizabeth does such a great job on them too. But you know, it's good to have variety and for us to be able to give you guys some fresh perspectives. So if any of you are interested in that, you can post the comments here, and then we're also going to have a post we'll put up in the group here sometime soon for people who are interested to sign up, but just something to start thinking about. If you would like to be part of the Art Time video crew, maybe share some of your favorite tips and tricks and things that your classes like, that would be great because we can all learn from each other. I'm still going to be doing some. Elizabeth will be doing some, so all of our admins are happy to do them. But you know, you might want some fresh perspective. Okay, so I'm just adding some ends to the bulbs there. I'm not going to go all the way around and do it, but that kind of connects them to the string a little bit better there. Okay. And then you'll see I added some lines down here, honestly, just because it was kind of bugging me. So that's kind of like a tree, not really like a tree skirt, but just kind of a base for it. Okay. So again, this is yours to like make your own, do whatever you want to do with it. I just didn't like it floating in the air, and I didn't really want to draw like a circular skirt around it, so we're just going to give it a little base. Okay. So I will go through, I'll add the little details to these bulbs like I did here. I'll add those all around the page here at the end. And let's see, so now I just have the words to add. So I'm going to go through and underline my verse real quick. I'm just going to underline the first part of it. It really is about the whole thing, and I think I am going to extend my little doodly lines. Y'all can see I'm just kind of thinking about it as I'm going along. Okay. So I'm going to come back here and I'll add the colored lights around that verse, and I think it'll be a fun way just kind of offset that little section, since it's already segmented there. And then let's see. I think, since we're talking about light, I'm gonna do my writing in yellow and then come back with a black pen and outline it to make it pop. So let's see. I didn't exactly have this planned out, so let me think about it. And what I do, a lot of times I kind of like just write in the air over my page instead of penciling it in to get an idea of my spacing. So if you see me doing that's what I'm doing. I'm not touching the page with the pen. Okay, actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna do that with a black pen after all. And then I might come back and add some little yellow accents to it. Okay, so I'm just using basic print right now. I'm gonna vary the sizes a little bit just to make it slightly more interesting. Okay, so that's what I want to say, or what I wanted to say. Again, it does not have to be fancy lettering. I think it's so important to remind people of that. I love the fancy hand lettering, and it is something that I've spent some time practicing to get better at. But I think it can be very off-putting for some people because they just look at it and go, well, I can never do that, or I can't do that, I don't write like that. And so they just write everything off. They don't want to journal because it doesn't look like Pinterest. So I think it's important that people realize they can use their own handwriting. They can use print. They can use cursive. They can use a variety of fonts. It doesn't have to be fancy, but you can make it look nice too. If you put just a little bit of extra thought into it, even just your regular print, by varying the size of it, by going over it a couple of times like I'm doing here. I'm not trying to make it line up, just for the record. So it kind of gives it that more doodly quality, which goes with our little Christmas tree or Christmas light wires. And that makes it look a little bit more intentional, whether it started out intentional or not. And it turns it to something anybody can do. So I think it's nice to show people different options and different varieties and not have everything look super the same, because something that resonates with one person might not resonate as well with another. All right, so what do you guys think? Is that, I'll still have to finish it up, all the little details, but that pretty much is it. I'm gonna touch up that star a little bit. And that's where I said, now especially with the lighter paint pens, you might have to do a second coat if it's got something dark underneath it, but there we go. At least it will cover it up. So I'm gonna add the rest of my little lights here. Light, whatever you call them, ends. Thank you, Kellen. And like I said, you could even split this into a couple different tutorials or classes, demos, whatever you want to call them. And you could do just the idea either of a Christmas tree or whatever shape you wanted. The idea of using a stencil with the jelly plate. That could be one thing, and the whole doodle lines could be another thing, or you could put them together like I did. So a lot of it just depends on what you think works for the time and the crowd that you have. And I'm just kind of squiggling like little lines at the end where my colors connect to that wire so they don't look like they're floating in space. And again, they're just little doodle lights, so it's the suggestion of Christmas lights. It's not, we're not trying to be super photoreal and accurate here. Like I always tell people, is that, you know, the more wiggly your lines are, you get to call it whimsical, and then you don't have to try and draw straight lines. Yes, Lori, I did a stencil for the tree, and it should be at the beginning. I think it was before you cut on. So it's just, I just used a piece of cardstock, folded it in half, and cut out a tree shape. Or you could even do a triangle for a more basic tree shape. But yeah, that's just basic cardstock. So they could actually do that themselves, or you could do them ahead of time if you wanted to do them for the whole class. And then you actually don't need to do a jelly plate with that. You could easily use either just have them paint a Christmas tree, which is doable, or you could use the cardboard stencil or cardstock stencil and just have them dab paint on either with a sponge brush or with a paper towel or something along those lines, and get kind of a similar look without having to have jelly plates for everybody. Or if you have some people that have jelly plates, some that don't, that's a perfect solution. So everybody can do it, whether they have one or not. Because jelly plates can be a little pricey. So if you only have a few ladies in your class or a few people in your class, that might be doable to have them for everybody. And I think Kellen just asked about that. So you can definitely, it's something that you can get like at Hobby Lobby. You can usually get them with like the 40% off coupon. And I would get the smaller size, you know, like the 5x7s if you're providing them, or if you're getting the cheaper ones. But like I said, it might be something that you would want to offer the option and say, hey, I'm going to show it both ways. And if you have a jelly plate or would like to bring your own jelly plate, I will show you how to use it. And if not, I will show you another way to do the same project without it. That is usually how I go, because depending on the classes that I'm teaching, my local group, they bring their own supplies as far as the bigger supplies, like if they're bringing a jelly plate or whatnot. And then I usually bring extra, say, texture tools, or I'll bring extra acrylic paint, and I'll just bring like paper plates to squirt it out on. Things like that. But I don't bring jelly plates for everybody, because that's not cost effective for me. And with my class, when I teach them at church, a lot of times I can have over 20 people. And so again, I'm not going to buy them all jelly plates. And honestly, for me, those tend to be more of intro classes anyway. But now that I'm teaching them more often, if I introduce the jelly plate, I would probably just give them the option ahead of time. If they would like to purchase one, bring it to class, and if not, I'll give them an alternative way to do the same project. So I would say it's definitely great if you can provide things like that, or if you have a budget, depending on where you're doing the class, or if they're paying for it, to be able to include those things. But don't feel like you have to provide all sorts of things if you're the one providing the materials. I would say, you know, I'm sticking my hand all in this paint pen. But go with what makes sense for you, And then don't feel bad about either suggesting that they purchase something on their own or showing them another way to get a similar look if they're not able or choose not to purchase whatever that item is. So I'm just finishing up the last of my lights. And if it's a class, like for instance, when you know you're having it ahead of time, that's the other thing is you can announce that like ahead of time, like say, hey, next month or in the next couple weeks or whatever, we're going to be doing this. So if you would like to get this item, here's where you can get it at the best price. Go Hobby Lobby with a coupon, go to Amazon. And again, then if they choose not to, that you'll give them another option so that they don't get left out. Because that, I think, is always important. We don't want anybody to feel left out. All right. Okay, so I'm going to add, so again, those are super easy, like little random oval teardroppy shapes with a paint pen. Again, you could use a colored pen, like I have Micron colored pens, those don't bleed. Faber-Castell are great pens that don't bleed, assuming that you're doing them in your Bible, otherwise it doesn't matter. Yes, that's a good point too, is you can share the jelly plates, especially if you're doing a specific project. They could definitely take turns, because the jelly plate portion of this did not take that long. So if you have a few people per jelly plate, as long as it's not a longer project, then they could definitely share that and just take turns. So great point. And it's good too. I mean, it's good for people to be able to try something like that out so they can see if it's something that they do want to play with more. Everyone I know that has them kind of gets hooked on them, and then you just want to play with them all the time, which is a whole nother dilemma. Okay, did I get them all? My eyes are about crossing, y'all. Okay. I think that's a really pretty, like, bright, festive page. It definitely says light, to me. So it says, I'm just going to go back over these. I'm not going to do, like, really the doodle lines. These I just want to make a little bit darker. And then I think we're done. So do you guys have any other questions? Anything else you want to say? Anything you want to see, like maybe for the next art time? Sounds like more jelly plate is of interest, so definitely can handle that. The fun thing about them, I think, is that even when you use them and you know a lot about them, there's so many different things you can do with them and different looks you can get through them. You can kind of always learn something from it. At least that's what I find. So I'm just going back over my letters one more time. Because even though I wanted the big letters to be more pronounced, these were just a little wimpy for me. Oh, Marilyn, I'm so glad you enjoyed it and you could join us. I'm glad all of you ladies could join me tonight. I said, and if you think of anything else, feel free to come back and comment, or if you're watching the replay, throw something in the comments. I'll go back and check them. I said, if you think of anything that you would like to see on another Saturday art time, please let me know. Also, if you would like to contribute to Saturday art times in the coming up next year, let us know. We are going to have a post coming up for that, so start thinking about it. But feel free, you can reach out to me as well if you're interested in that, and we can chat about it. Okay, so Lori would like some new ideas for highlighting the text. That's a great idea. So we can definitely do that. I've got some different choices for that, some different ways to do that. So that'll be on my list, I promise. Because yeah, there's all sorts of options between, I mean, you've got underlining and doodles and boxes and banners and things like this. And you've also got masking off the verses and doing watercolor around it. All sorts of different choices. So we can definitely go over that. Anybody else on here? No? All right. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye.